Hey guys, I'm here in Ingolstadt and maybe there's a bell ringing. Maybe you heard the name Ingolstadt before. Well, Ingolstadt is the seat of the second big car company here in Bavaria, Audi. And but those who are not car people, maybe you also heard Ingolstadt, because Ingolstadt, well, this is where Victor Frankenstein.
I have one question, Dr. Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
I beg your pardon?
My name, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
No, Frankenstein studied, at least in the novel by Mary Shelley. And so I thought I'd come here and see if it's a day trip for you, if there's things to see here. Here I am at the new castle here in Ingolstadt, and there's the Bavarian military museum behind me. So okay, so let's follow my footsteps.
What? Following in his grandfather's footsteps.
And see what's inside, and see what's here to see in Ingolstadt. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe Ingolstadt is a stop for you. Ingolstadt is located halfway between Munich and Nuremberg, just 1 hour north of Munich. Regional trains run there every hour. I would recommend buying a Bayern ticket for 32 euros, which allows you to use public transport all day long. You will need this in Ingolstadt as the main train station is located just outside the Old Town. Even from the air you can see that Ingolstadt was once an important fortified town. The star-shaped fortress layout is still clearly visible today. More on that later. Ingolstadt was first mentioned in 1806 during the reign of Charlemagne. In the 15th century the new castle was built here to defend the city. Until the 16th century it was a representative residence, after which it mainly served as an important city fortress. As far as we know, no mad professor ever experimented on corpses here. Since 1972 it has housed the Bavarian Military Museum, and you can now see what I found there. On the ground floor there are numerous medieval weapons, a magnificent Gothic suit of armor, and this shield here. And as a Munich native, I immediately recognized the coat of arms. The shield bears the Münchner Kindel, the Munich city coat of arms. The real highlights of the museum are located on the next floor. This floor is dedicated to the forms of warfare from 1600 to 1815. The 30 Years' War plays an important role. Ingolstadt itself was an important center for the Catholic imperial troops, and was the only Bavarian city that could not be taken despite being besieged by the Protestant Swedish king Gustavus Adolphus. At that time the fortress was considered impregnable. Probably the most outstanding exhibit in the museum is the Grand Vizier's tent. The Bavarian elector Max Emanuel captured the sleeping tent of Grand Vizier Suleiman Pasha after the Battle of Mohacs in 1678. The tent, made of wolf felt, is richly decorated with silk appliques. The magnificent tent was not only added to the Wittelsbach collection as a trophy of victory, but also took on a representative role, being used at garden parties as early as the 17th century. It was also erected at the royal wedding in 1810 between Crown Prince Ludwig and Princess Therese, which later developed into the Oktoberfest. It can therefore be said that this tent is the first Oktoberfest tent. Of course, there are also exhibits from the Napoleonic Wars. Here is the British officer's uniform, and not far away you can find its French counterpart. Many pictures also bear witness to the everyday life of soldiers in the field. On the top floor there is an exhibition on the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 and the period of peace until 1914. Unfortunately, my camera didn't like the lighting in the museum here, so I'll keep it short. The museum also has a large collection of tin soldiers. One outstanding model here was the Battle of the Nations near Leipzig in 1813. With approximately 60,000 participants from around 20 nations, it was the largest battle in Europe before World War I and marked the end of Napoleon's ambitions. How an officer could find its way around here is beyond me. I bought the combined ticket for the Bavarian Army Museum for €10. This also allowed me to visit the branches on the other side of the Danube. They are located in two fortresses. King Ludwig I had further expanded Ingolstadt's fortresses after the Napoleonic Wars. After all, you never know whether the French or the Prussians might pay another visit, but no one came to visit again. The museum dedicated to the First World War is located in the right-hand fortress, the Reduit Tilly. And I was really impressed by the museum. It begins with the situation that led to the First World War and the enthusiasm for war among parts of the German population at the beginning of the conflict. The important elements of the armed forces, such as the army, the navy, and the brand new Air Force, are presented. However, much of the exhibition also focuses on the everyday life of soldiers at the front. A walk-in trench was also built for this purpose, but unfortunately I was unable to film it because it was too dark inside. There was also a special exhibition in the museum about German mountain troops and the turbulent years of the Weimar Republic after the World War. I didn't film that though, because I was afraid that the video would end up being too long. My conclusion: I highly recommend the museum. There is one small downside though. Unfortunately, the displayed boards were all in German. But nowadays with cell phones and translation programs, that shouldn't be a problem anymore. Opposite in the Trivia Tower is the Bavarian Police Museum. Here you can see vehicles and uniforms from the imperial era to the present day. The role of the police during the Nazi era is also critically examined. I would have liked to see more focus on the continuity of personnel in the police force between the Nazi era and the early days of the Federal Republic of Germany. The break between the Third Reich and German democracy was a little too smooth for my liking, and I have already seen an exhibition on this very topic at the Munich police headquarters. So why not here too? But I'm getting political again. In short, a nice little museum that you can visit with a combined ticket. In any case, I got hungry and had a delicious duck with dumpling for lunch. And suddenly I came across Frankenstein again. After lunch I took a look at the streets and alleys where Victor Frankenstein would have searched for his monster had he existed. The Old Town is characterized by old town houses from different eras, and in between you can catch glimpses of narrow medieval alleys. The Old Town Hall is very old on the one hand because its core dates back to the 14th century, but on the other hand it is not that old, because its current appearance is a near-Renaissance building from the end of the 19th century. However, the Kreuztor Gate, which is considered Ingolstadt's landmark, is truly ancient. It has stood here more or less unchanged since 1385. Especially noteworthy is the Tilly House, where Count Johann of Tilly, one of the great names of the 30 Years' War, died in 1632 from injuries sustained at the Battle of Rhein. Just behind the Tilly House is the Asam Church, or rather St.Maria de Victoria. It was also designed by the Asam brothers. If you're not familiar with the name Asam, take a look at my video on Munich's Asam Church. In any case, Igit Quirin Asam is considered the architect of the baroque exterior facade, while his brother Cosmas Damian Asam designed the interior paintings, creating the world's largest flat ceiling fresco. By the way, admission cost €5. The fresco depicts the continents of Africa, America, Europe and Asia in each corner. And I'm sorry, dear Aussies, but back then Australia was simply not yet known in Europe, which is why it's missing. The optical effects in the ceiling fresco are also great. Here you can see the pyramid from the entrance portal, looking rather flat. And here you can see the same pyramid from the altar, quite pointed. Ludwig Maximilian University was founded here in Ingolstadt in 1472, making it Bavaria's oldest university. After a brief stopover in Landshut from 1800, it was moved to Munich by King Ludwig I in 1826, where it remains to this day. One of the remnants of the university's former presence is the old anatomy building. Today it houses the German Museum of Medical History. This is where Victor Frankenstein is said to have conducted his research and experiments. To protect yourself from the monster, I think it would help to like the video and to subscribe to the channel. Admission to the Medical History Museum costs €6. Inside you can see a wide variety of medical instruments that make you glad to be alive today. I also found this anatomical crucifix from the early 18th century bizarre. This iron lung was also really interesting. There was a special exhibition on human specimens that Frankenstein would probably have loved to get his hands on, but I didn't find the brains of Hans Delbrück or Abby Normal there. But in the museum there is a room dedicated to Frankenstein. It covers the scientific background to Mary Shelley's novel. Finally, I left the Old Town and took the bus to the north of Ingolstadt, where the Audi factory and the Audi Museum are located. Admission to the museum costs €5. I'm not the biggest car fan, so please forgive me if I didn't film a particular exhibit in detail. It starts with classic cars from the Horch company. In 1909, August Horch wanted to start his own company, but he no longer had the naming rights to the Horch brand. So he simply changed the name Horch, which means listen in German, to the Latin Audi, which is the imperative form of listen. At the museum you can learn about the technology in the cars, of course, and you can see many Audis from throughout the company's history. Military vehicles, as well as vehicles from more beautiful and peaceful times. But two exhibits really appeal to me personally, namely as a film geek. The car belonging to Iron Man Tony Stark, and even more so, the Audi that Will Smith drives in the film I, Robot. It was a long day for me in Ingolstadt. Victor Frankenstein never lived here and Mary Shelley never visited Ingolstadt. But should you visit Ingolstadt? Definitely yes. I won't be offering a guided tour of Ingolstadt as most of the sites are really the many museums. However, this makes Ingolstadt ideal for a day trip from Munich on changeable rainy days. You can find the links to all the museums in the description. And if you would like me to show you Munich or other cities in the Munich area, you can find my homepage and my email address here. Until the next video, Philip.